Are we filming? Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Welcome. I was going to do this as a mail time, but I decided I really wanted to talk about this product. I'm not trying to promote it. Yes, I might make some money if you click my link, which I've put in the description, and I've pinned a comment. So there's one there, but it doesn't matter about that. It doesn't matter about that. Because this is a wider thing. As you know from a previous video, I am looking to change, not everything. This is personal size. This is A6, and and personal size works fine. Let me show you this. So this is I'm using this in this binder, has got a lot of reference material. Personal size works very, very well with a personal size filofax, as we all know, but it's an awkward size. It's an awkward size, and you know, let me just move this out of the way so we can see it. Okay, so it is an awkward size, and you can get. You can buy personal size, as we know, but it's quite expensive to buy it. Although pre-cut, tree-brilled, if you're time poor, cash rich, then definitely go for pre-printed diaries or pre-cut, pre-drilled blank paper for doing your own thing. Absolutely, that is very, very cost effective, because you have to equate your time in terms of how much you value yourself, especially if you're having to stop what you're doing and not make quite so much money because you're busy faffing about trying to cut bits of paper and whatever. It is a bit of a faff for some people. So it is. So that is an option, but for many of us, including myself, I tend to, what I do is I just get a dashboard and I draw around it and I try and line it up. So I cut one and then I cut two more and then I cut them. I'm not that bothered about whether it looks neat and tidy, because that's just me, but I do appreciate that having it very, very neat, very clean cut, very clean drilled, etc. works for a lot of people. So I am not disparaging that, each to their own. However, I have been looking for some paper that I can use in A6 format, in A7 format for my Guildford Mini Extra Slim, or this is a Mini Executive. For EDC use, I like using a mini filofax. It doesn't have to be a mini filofax. Sometimes I use the let's see, have I got one here? I also, although it hasn't featured very often recently, I also use. I'm experimenting all the time with Atoma disc-bound binders for EDC use, everyday carry. But let's focus on this paper, this A4 paper. There's two papers I tend to use. One is just cheap photocopy paper. It's probably about 70 GSM. I get it in reams of 500. The last lot I actually bought from my local store up the road, Tesco's, because if I can, I like to support my local store, even though I don't know where the money goes for Tesco's, but let's give them the benefit of the doubt there. I'm ostensibly at least supporting local employees. But sometimes I buy on Amazon if I can't buy it elsewhere, and that's becoming more and more so as more and more stores. It's more difficult to go to stores, but I'm waffling here. The most important thing is I'm looking for paper that I can cut down from A4 to make A6 and A7 paper. And I think I found some that's really, really nice. Well, there's two now. There's two. I love this paper that I'm using as a diary. Where is it? Here. This is Clairefontaine bank paper, 50 GSM. It's beautifully light and thin, so you can carry it with you. Just bear with me a sec. I'm just going to blow my nose. Having a tough time with a runny nose at the moment. Let's sort out that light. Okay, so the Clairefontaine paper, it's not completely fountain pen friendly, but I tend to use a G2. It sort of works okay. You can see there the G2 is clearly showing through, but it hasn't bled through. It's kind of all right. It's kind of all right for an EDC. But I've been looking for a paper that has a little bit more fountain pen friendliness, that is in A4 format, so ostensibly it's cheaper. And this particular paper that I showed you right at the beginning of the video has been on my radar for some time because it's very, very popular. It claims to be the world's bestseller, #1 consumer choice, yada yada. But I hadn't actually tried some until today, this morning. This is 120 GSM, and it really feels like it as well. Really feels like it's substantial, like it would last a long time in a filofax if you wanted to, for instance, use a filofax as a journal. So, or another binder, or you could make this into something you could punch it and use it in an atoma, for instance. Other discbound binders are available. So it feels substantial, it feels good in the hands. Very, very bright. I'm not too keen on the brightness, but that's just my personal preference for like this colour I prefer to this colour because it has more of a vintage vibe going on, to be honest. It looks good in this colour here with my thumb. In my opinion, looks much, much better than this. But notwithstanding the colour, which is just a personal preference, what about this paper? Navigator. I believe it's made by NU, could be wrong, but I think it's new. And it's got this thing called UHD formula, ultra high definition, and it says it's got a special surface treatment, and it caught my eye the other day, and I thought, do you know what? It's only a £5. So there's 200. It's heavy. It's heavy. This is just 250 sheets, and it's almost the same thickness as a ream of 500 normal cheap copy of paper. But let me show you this. Let me show you this. I did a little test, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do another one at random. I'm going to do a test with a food nib. This is Quink Blue. I'm also going to try. Here's another one. This is a food nib as well. This is. I mean, if you don't know what a food nib is, it's like a curved nib. It's like a it gives the illusion that you're using a brush. Very popular in Japan, apparently, although I don't really know that for sure. But the effect, it's almost like an architect nib on steroids, but where the horizontal brush is much wider than the downstroke, which is the opposite how a normal like stub nib would work, where you get the wide downstroke and then a narrow sideways stroke. But it's a good test for any paper to use a food nib like this. So we're going to use two. This has got Noodler's Rome Burning, and this has got Quink Blue, and I've deliberately I've only got a couple of these food nibs because I've acquired over 100 fountain pens in the last 6 months. It's ridiculous, I know, but you know, there is a limit, and my limit is just 2 of these. So let's just do a quick test and I haven't tested these before, but I just wanted to show you. So this isn't an ink and paper test. It's not a mail time. It's not a philosophy video. It is just, I'm going to put this under other stuff because it's just a mixture of everything. But let's just do this. So paper test, because this really is a paper test, not an ink test, and it's a food nib, or food nib, I think that's the pronunciation, and it's Quink Blue. All right, and then let's put the cap on, and what we'll do is we'll do the noodler's Rome burning. So again, it's a food nib, and it's noodler's Rome burning. Okay, let's try that. So this is the grand reveal. Let's turn it horizontally here. So let's give this a go. Well, there's a little bit of bleed through the Rome burning. Hardly any with the Quink. So let's try something else with a normal pen. This is a Yinhao or Yinhao X159. It's a very, very common copy of I believe the Mont Blanc, but substantially cheaper. I'm sure it's not a copy, it just takes its design cues, doesn't it? But here we go. So this is a paper test, and it's a Yinhao X159, and it is I'm not sure, let me just use my magnifying glass and have a look. Okay, so that is a medium nib, and this is Pure Pens, and it is Beast of Bodmin, which is a black ink that I really like because it's a well-behaved ink. Let's try that and just have a little look. So there's a little bit, isn't there? There's a little bit. Let's try another one just to be sort of a medium nib. This is a fine nib. Let's go for a mild test. So this is an extra fine nib, and this is what are we looking at here? Just trying to have a look at what we're looking at. I need a reference. Come on, Neil, sort yourself out. I'm just trying to find what this ink is. I don't know what it is, but let's give it a go anyway. So this is an extra fine nib. This is a TWSBI Go. I think this is blue black Quink, but I can't be sure. TWSBI Go, Quink, blue black. Pretty sure it is, and it's an extra fine nib. So let's just have a look at that. So I'm actually just going to do a square, just align it up. So there we go. I can't see anything there. I can't see anything there at all. It's from about there to about here. Are we right? Okay, so there is a little bit. There is a little bit, but as you can see, you could use this for notes. You could easily use this for notes. Whereas if you used, I'm just using a I mean, not that I'm criticising moleskin, but just to give you an example, this is a moleskin, and I just want to show you what happens when you write in a moleskin, or this particular moleskin. So we've got some writing here. This is Rome burning again, and if we look at it, it's not really suitable. I'm not saying moleskins are terrible, because they're just not suitable for this type of thing, writing in pen. Now, what I'm looking for is something that I can use as for writing notes, or maybe even something more permanent. Could I use this paper? I mean, it's certainly good with the Quink ink. I mean, I could write on this with anything at all. Let me just do a quick test with a Pilot. Let me just do here so that I can easily identify it. This is a Pilot G2, and it's a 1mm broad point, which is my weapon of choice normally. So there we go. Let's zoom in so we can see it a bit better. So this is my weapon of choice that I use most of the time. Let's have a look. Wow, nothing there. Isn't that fantastic? I could use that. If you compare that to, again, I'm using the Pilot G2 broads, and let's have a look. So this is where the writing is here, and you compare it to the writing on my bank paper, my Clairefontaine, very good quality bank paper, 50 GSM. You can see that, I mean, I'm okay writing over there, but this is even better. If this wasn't so transitory, if I wanted to write a journal, for instance, or some notes or some reference material, this would be a better choice to this. This is just going to be used for effectively one day. When we get to 15th of April, it will appear, and I'll go, oh, right, okay, so that's no big deal. So if I wanted to use a pen, a fountain pen, then I could do it. Let's zoom out. I could do it, couldn't I? And I could get away with it, because you could effectively write over there. It's not too bad. The Rome burning is, as an example, it's probably bad. Rome burning with a food nib, that's probably about as bad as you're going to get. And yet, if you look at the extra fine nib with, I believe, Quink blue black, it's perfectly usable. It's perfectly usable. And if you're using something like a Pilot G2 with a broad nib, which is my weapon of choice, it's invisible. So let me rust the top on this Twisby. I don't want it to dry out or anything. You know, this is a good test of this paper, you know. I like it, but I'm not saying that this is going to go up. I don't know whether this is a specifically unusually good price. I don't know, but I paid a £5 for this. I paid £5, whoa, for 250 sheets. Now, 250 sheets would last me a long time. If I was using this as exclusively, effectively, one sheet of A4 would give me 8 sheets of A7, which would last me 8 days in my diary. So 250 times 8 is 2,000. So it would give me several, many months of use for £5. I mean, this is the thing. And I'm not criticising manufacturers and retailers who sell little packs of a few sheets, you know, typically 20 or 30 sheets, or you might get like a budget pack of 100 sheets for £4 or £5 or £6, which is okay in the grand scheme of things. It's cheap enough. It's certainly cheap enough to use for reference material in a diary. I specifically in here use filofax branded paper, and it works fine. I don't mind spending a few pounds on 100 sheets, but if you're using a lot, if you're using it for notes, if you're using several sheets a day, if you are a heavy user like I am, what is the ideal situation? What would work for me that is reasonably priced? Well, have I got some down here? No, it's downstairs because I've got so much of it. But the bottom line is, I reckon that I could probably get away with, unless it's something really, really special, like writing with a nice pen, and I'm writing a nice letter or something, where I would probably use, excuse me, just gonna blow my nose again. If I was writing a letter, and I know this is me waffling, but if I was writing a letter with fountain pen, I would probably use something like Conqueror paper. Really, really high class, but seriously high class, but very expensive, probably £1 a sheet or something crazy. I don't know, but well worth it for the occasional use. But if I'm cutting things down to add to a filofax or some other binder or a discbound system, do you know what? I think I could go a lot more wrong than having two types of paper. And this is my conclusion. For most people, if they think like me, and I know some of you are interested in how I think, so this is my conclusion. I could get away with having the Clairefontaine paper, 50 GSM, for things like my EDC diary, and Navigator paper, which is 120 GSM for other things. Both of them are reasonably priced, and if you're cutting it down from A4 to A5, if you're an A5 user, or A6 if you are a personal size user who wants to experiment with A6 paper, or A7 if you are the user of mini size filofaxes, I could say you could do a lot. You could go a lot more wrong, as they say in the UK, getting some of this Navigator paper and some of this this is 120 GSM, and the Clairefontaine paper, which is 50 GSM but very, very high quality. On a budget, I would say that you should maybe consider keeping some of that paper, the Navigator paper and the Clairefontaine 50 GSM paper in your drawer, and that will and you're covered. That will have you covered for all eventualities. And then maybe something like Conqueror paper for some serious writing, if that is within your remit as well. So a bit of a mixture, but I just wanted to expand and share my thoughts about this new acquisition of mine, this Navigator paper, which apparently is recycled paper, comes from sustainable forest stuff. You know the score. So it's got the eco credentials as far as making paper is eco. But I'll leave it there. Thanks very much for watching, and goodbye.